Some people are sure that without a donate on a pay-to-win server, you can't do a thing, but I'm going to refute that. I was late since the wipe was 1 day ago, so I had to be fast to be able to catch up with the other players. I joined on my second account and everything except for ping was 0. Type in RTP, as always I started with getting wood and then stone tools. I tried to kill animals that dropped leather, so later I could craft an enchanting table. I found my first mineshaft on the minimap. I can see minecarts, so let's hope that I will find the universal key. After mining iron, I smelted it in the furnaces. Then I got lapis and sold it with the name tag for 6,000. I crafted iron armor and kept traveling. While lapis was selling well, I was collecting flowers to sell them later. On my way, I also collected berries to make a berry farm in the future. In the snowy biome, some more minecarts appeared on the minimap, but still no signs of a universal key. Then I bought a pickaxe for the money I got by selling lapis. I also found my first diamonds. My inventory was full, so I put my main account at spawn to put unnecessary things in its inventory. Some more minecarts. I went to the cave in order to mine some iron to sell it. In the distant coordinates, I made a base and sold a stack of stone for 32,000, and surprisingly, people started buying it. Then I smelted all my iron and sold it. Everyone was buying iron too, and my balance was over 50,000 in 1 hour of playing. Looting another mineshaft, I somehow died of poison. And after a good RTP, I still had to run 3,000 blocks. But by buying speed potions and food, I made it. There was nothing there. I found a coral reef and using Silk Touch pickaxe collected some corals to sell, as they are needed for one of the spawner tasks. There were loads of minecarts that stayed behind the scenes, because there was nothing interesting. Suddenly someone bought all the stone blocks, and I could afford myself an elytra. I also bought gunpowder and crafted some fireworks. And flying across the world, I could find minecarts 5 times faster. But after my elytra broke, I decided to buy an unbreakable elytra for 300,000. After an unsuccessful looting of dozens of mineshafts, I tried to explore the nether, but I flew into a wall and died. Luckily, the elytra was on the edge of the cliff and didn't burn in the lava, so I went to the death point. And after the pain and suffering, I made it. I decided to go to the end dimension, which was the safest place for flying with the unbreakable elytra. At that moment, I lost every hope to find the universal key, so my plan was to find as many elytras as possible. But the wipe was 30 hours ago, and the most of the end dimension was already looted. As I expected, the first ship was looted. But in the second one, I found my first elytra. Then I spotted some items on the minimap, and when I flew closer, I understood that someone just died because his elytra broke. I didn't believe my luck. Then, after some time, I found my third elytra. After that, I sold some armor and tools that I got from the end cities. In the overworld, my base was insecure, so I placed some chests in the random end island, and also decorated it. While I was exploring the world, I found a skeleton spawner. And as the first task was easy, I tried to collect it. First, I put the private block so no one could break it. The first task was to put all the colors of the concrete blocks in the radius of 5 blocks from the spawner. I bought all the colors and then I crafted all the blocks of concrete powder. On RTP, I created a simple mechanism and placed the blocks to the spawner. The second task was that I should ride a pig. Not far away, I found a pig and rode on it to the hole that I made earlier. Now the final task. Luckily, it was only to place all the blocks where you can store items. After collecting the spawner, I sold all my 3 elytras and bought 3 spawners and 3 skeleton spawn eggs. Okay, my plan is to build a skeleton farm on 4 spawners. I built it first in the single player to be sure that everything works perfectly, and now it's time to build it on the server. In the random end island, I started digging the area for the farm. After trying to speed up the process by TNT, I bought the whole stack and started exploding. I checked the buyer and saw an endstone. After I finished the water part, I bought the big private block and placed it in the center. Then I placed the spawners and skeleton eggs. And this is the final result. There is water to prevent teleportation by chorus fruit and the sorting system. But after half an hour, someone tried to grief it, but seeing that it was a skeleton farm, he left. I blocked the hole, and while I was destroying the TNT bridge, the griefer came and said that I should give him something or he would completely destroy my farm. I said that the only thing I had was 50,000 coins. And the griefer said, "Well, I won't bother you." And he disappeared. Then I built an enchanting table, enchanted some shovels, and sold them. I stayed AFK on my farm for a couple of hours, and when I came back, my farm was raided. After repairing it, I covered everything with obsidian to prevent TNT from blowing up my farm. Then, more and more people started finding my farm, and I paid a lot of money to not be griefed. But one of them said that if someone would grief me, I should ask him for help. It was so unexpected because so much time had passed since I last met such a good person. After that, things were like this. I AFK on my farm, then sold bones and arrows to the buyer, and all over again. But I remembered about berries, so I began to make a berry farm. This mechanism is very simple and very efficient, so anyone can build it in less than 10 minutes. Then I covered it with obsidian so no one could grief it by TNT. I also poured water to prevent teleportation by chorus fruit, and I put my second account to farm. But when I teleported to my base, it was completely destroyed. The video files were lost, so I'll tell you what happened. Well, there was a tunnel, and when I explored it, I found the nickname of some player. It turned out that he was digging the territory for the farm. I killed him and put my private blocks so he couldn't do anything there. And let's take my decorative blocks from here as well. After that, I teleported to my berry farm. It was grief. Like, I'm not sad or angry, that's ridiculous because he tried so hard and got nothing. And it took me only 5 minutes to build it back. Then I sold all my farmed berries and got 60,000. This is good because one adventure of them is farming for 7 minutes. I was tired of endless farming, so I went exploring the world, and in a cave I found a hologram of the private block. I moved up and started bombing down. After the last TNT, I jumped down and saw nothing valuable. Well, there were some good things, but the TNT that I used would cost me more than everything that I got from his base. I noticed that the Endermen are ruining the spawn rate on my farm, so I flooded all the territory above to prevent them from spawning. That's more like it. Suddenly, two players appeared above my farm. As always, I wrote them so that I could pay them. At first, I thought that they didn't see the message, but when they spawned a wither, I realized that I was in a big trouble. I told them to stop and to have a normal discussion, but they didn't care. At the end, I had a completely destroyed territory, and the wither which was destroying surroundings more and more. I tried to kill it. But I died, and I abandoned my farm for some time. Finally, I found berries in the buyer's assortment and I sold them. I forgot to mention that I built another base on the bigger coordinates and also decorated it. Teleporting to my berry farm, I heard TNT. Luckily, I managed to save all of my bone meal. After that, I made a second attempt to kill the wither.
Guess I won't be coming to church on Sunday. I'll be waiting for love to come around.
It was clear that those griefers won't come here again, so I started repairing everything. I lit the walls, and I placed the invisible private block that cost me 500,000. This block ignores RTP base and doesn't have a hologram. As you can see, I rebuilt everything and it's time to remove torches. But the surroundings were destroyed, so to prevent Endermen from spawning and teleportation by chorus fruit, I flooded everything up. Then my routine was simple. Farm skeletons, farm berries, sell all this to the buyer, enchant and sell shovels, sell invisibility potions, and do everything all over again. I was lucky as the buyer wanted bones and arrows at the same time. Later on, I noticed that the gold was very expensive. Fortunately, my berry farm was in the Mesa biome, so I started to mine a lot of gold.
Pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. I am restricted, things are on the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life
Did you know that if you find lapis, dig 4 blocks south from the vein and dig down, you will find diamonds? Let's try it again. Look, it works! In 2 hours I managed to get these resources, and I began to sell them using 3 accounts. I sold it for the overprice because I knew that during the night people would buy it. I also sold my unbreakable elytra because I didn't need to fly so long again. After that, a boss spawned at the PvP arena, and I went there to try my luck.
burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm fearless. Exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still. Hanging in the balance, not the life I want to live. I want to take it all, standing tall. Fear outweighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a fear
Suddenly, I saw diamond armor on the floor, and I managed to escape to the safe zone.
fearless.
But it was only plot 3. The boss was killed and the valuable resources started to drop everywhere near it, but I didn't loot anything. Another boss. There was only one player who spawned it using the universal key. And when the boss was killed, I threw an ender pearl, but the player killed me. When I returned, there were OP boots that I sold for 20,000. Then I thought, why am I sneaking every time with the invisibility potions? Why am I afraid of griefers? Why am I looking on the players destroy my work? I have to improve my PvP. I found a PvP duels server where you can train to PvP, so maybe next wipe I will do PvP on Anarchy.
So we're down, we go. Way down we go.
Coming back to the anarchy, after a few days of grinding, my balance went over 5 million. And in the chat I saw a message that someone would buy a donate case for coins. I texted him and he told me to grind more because he wanted at least 7 million for a donate case. I began to grind harder and went to the Mesa biome for gold. I also registered a lot more accounts so I have a better chance of finding bones and arrows in the buyer's assortment. To earn more money I even collected sandstone. And finally I had enough money for him to buy me the donate case. And through the guarantor I received the donate case, which I will open in the next video. Because of my 8 million coins, he was in 5th place in the bell top, and he earned 10,000 rubies and a custom privilege.